Okay, I just did a live. I literally just got off a live, and it was my birthday giveaway live, and I was like a squirrel here, there, and everywhere talking about everything. And it was a good live. Like, I legitimately was pumped up and excited and all over the place, okay? And I have a hard time putting my feelings into words, okay? And I'm just sporadic and I go all over the place. But I have such a desire, okay? And I'm trying not to be emotional with this, but I have such a desire, not even a desire, I have such a strong pull, a strong feeling to share, okay? And I've had it for so long. And I don't know why that is, okay? I don't know why. But I share what I do because people don't talk about the realness of a lot of things, you know? We talk about the easy parts. We bitch about the hard parts, but we don't talk about them, you know? And I've just felt this very strong desire and need to talk about things, more importantly, share about mental health and my therapy and all those things, because so many of us struggle, okay? So many of us struggle, whether it is with depression, whether it's with self-confidence, whether it's with anxiety, bipolar, PTSD, grief, whatever, okay? Like, no one's happy all the time, okay? But some people fight it more than others, and some people struggle, and a lot of people struggle. And when you bottle that in, if it's in here, if it's like chemically imbalanced, if it's more than just a situational anxiety, a situational depression, if you bottle it up, it doesn't go away, okay? And talking about it doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you weak. And that's why I talk about it so much, because I have always been viewed as a strong person, okay? And I am a strong person, and I feel like I'm a strong person, and I've always felt strong, but I've always felt the need to really, really appear even stronger, because that was what I was known for. Confidence and strength, okay? So that's why when I came out with all this anxiety stuff, some people, including my own family, was really shocked to the depth, and really probably still don't understand, because it's hard to understand how I could hide something like that. But admitting at the time, before I went through therapy, admitting that something can control me that way made me feel like I would be weak. And when I started to go to therapy, which I didn't start therapy for anxiety. That's not why I started. I started therapy for emotional eating because I was tired, okay? And I needed help. That was the only thing I had left. It's the only thing. I knew how to lose weight, you know? And I couldn't take it anymore. I knew how I felt was not how I wanted to feel for the rest of my life, okay? And I knew that there was a deeper emotional connection to food, and the only person that could help me through that was a therapist. So that's why I went. But anyway, I started working on anxiety because that's what causes me to eat. And I remember sitting. I've cried very, very, very few times in therapy. Okay? I argued a lot. I swore a lot. I cussed a lot. I was angry a lot in therapy. I would tell her things that were making me angry, and we worked through them. And she was able to always bring me back around to show me how that was anxiety, or how those emotions or feelings or whatever I was going through at the time was a result of a byproduct of anxiety. When I first started, she was getting to know me, and she asked me if I've ever been on medication. And I said no. Not, medication for anxiety or depression. And I said no. And she said, would I consider it? And I said no. And she asked me why, and I said, well, because I don't want to be on something that makes me feel different. Like, at the time, I didn't understand my anxiety. I didn't really understand where we were going. But I thought that, I was validated in all of my crazy obsessions and my crazy worries that I had, that they were normal, and I was supposed to do that because that's how I prevented things from happening. And if you gave me a pill and I wouldn't do that, bad things would happen. The thought of being on anti-anxiety medicine gave me anxiety, okay? But flash forward 6 months later, she brought up medication again because I just wasn't getting better. Like, I was getting a little bit better, but as I was becoming more aware, my anxiety got worse. Because I was aware of it. I was aware of all these actions and all these things I was doing. And she brought up medication again. And that's one of the only times I remember crying in therapy. If I've cried 2 times in therapy, that's it, 2 or 3 times, because I just don't do that in therapy. And she said, have you given any more thought to medication? And I said, no. I said, well, yeah, but I don't want to. And she said, why? Why are you so opposed to medication? She said, I think you've come a long way with therapy. And she said, there's different types of anxiety. There's anxiety that you're going away. So you have anxiety about going away. You have anxiety about flying on a plane. You have anxiety about being in a car. You have anxiety about your child learning how to drive. Things that are normal. Like, it's a rational worry, but it's situational. And then there's anxiety that you can't control, and you make up things, and then you have, like, I developed OCD from my anxiety, where I would have to physically walk back into my doorway like 3 times till it felt right, and I would have to touch burners until it felt right. Like, I didn't have to like look at something to know it was off. I had to feel a certain way, and it was a byproduct of this anxiety, and it was like it was normal to me. Okay, it was normal to me. But anyway, there's that type of anxiety. And she said, sometimes if you have a chemical imbalance in your brain, and that's where your anxiety's from, the only thing that might help that sometimes is medication. So why would you not want to try it? And I remember breaking down that day, and I said, because I am a strong woman, and I handle everything. I can handle absolutely anything. Everyone knows that, and I know it. And what kind of woman will I be if I have to take a pill to be normal? It makes me feel weak. It makes me feel like I failed. And she said, don't feel that way. That's not what it means. You can't control the chemicals in your brain no different than people can control, their blood pressure and, diabetes and things like that. I mean, you can control that stuff to a certain degree, but there's lots of people who can't, and you can't control your vision. You can't control, there's lots of things you can't control, and your brain is no different. And we had a long talk about that, and how I had this preconceived notion of feeling weak or feeling less strong, and it's because no one talks about those things, and when I first started talking about those things, it was uncomfortable, and I did for a little bit worry about being judged, especially by people who have no idea that I'm going through these things. But the reason why I do it is because when I started the medication, and I was on it for 6 weeks, and I really didn't feel that different. I had to go up a dose, okay, and I had to be put on the max dose of the medication I take. Once it started to work, all the things I was afraid of weren't true. Okay, it's like I was living my life in a fog, and the fog went away. Okay, so I talk about it because it's not talked about enough. It's not talked about, and you're not weak for needing help. You're not less of a woman, less of a man, less of anything because you need help with something. If you couldn't see, you'd go to the doctor. If you couldn't hear, you'd go to the doctor. If you're getting dizzy every day and passing out, you'd go to the doctor. If your nose kept bleeding, you'd go to the doctor. I mean, hell, some of us go to the doctor and our throat is sore. We go to the doctor when things aren't right, but we associate it when it's in our brain as being like a failure or being crazy or being judged. And I talk about that so that especially for the hundreds of people around me that I talk to, whether it's on Facebook or family or whatever, and the type of person I am, and how strong I am or how strong I appear to be, and I can say, yeah, I struggle with mental health, and I need to take medication, and look at me, it's okay. It's okay to talk about. When I was getting ready to turn 40, I can't even tell you how miserable I was at that birthday. I was so miserable because I had gained my weight back, and I felt like a failure, and my anxiety was through the roof, and I had situational depression from gaining the weight back, and I just was miserable, especially because 2 years prior to that, I knew that I would turn 40 and be the most fabulous ever because that's where I was headed. And it was end up being the worst. So when I think of that was just 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was in the worst place I've ever been, mentally and physically. Just 2 years ago. And now, here I am, literally 2 years later, in the absolute best place of my life, because I didn't stop working for it. I didn't give up on me. I put in the work. I didn't care about what other people thought. I didn't care about the judgments. I didn't care about the made-up judgments, too, because half of them aren't real. I didn't care. I didn't care what people thought. I don't care what people think now when I talk about it. because I want people to know that you don't have to feel that way, that there's help, there's support, there's things you can do. And what brought this out, because I literally just came off a great live, and I checked, I had a message from a very dear friend who like had gone through some, like, one of the very hardest things a young wife and mother could ever go through. And it breaks my heart for her that she has to, go through what she has to go through. And she really struggled, and she probably still struggles, but when she reaches out to me and tells me that me talking about what I go through, even though what I have gone through is nothing compared to what she had to deal with, that it helped her. That's why I have to talk about this stuff, because it's not just for me. Like, we all deserve to be happy. We all deserve to feel fabulous. Whether that's with therapy, whether that's with medication, whether that's with income, making more, job, whether that's with weight loss, whatever. So every single thing that I'm dealing with that helps me feel fabulous, I'm talking about it to you because I want to share. And I want you to be able to pull out whatever you can from my story, whether it's how I've dealt with weight loss surgery, whether it's how I lost weight before weight loss surgery, whether it's how I go to therapy, how I deal with anxiety, whether it's about where I buy my makeup from, whether it's where I get my hair extensions done, whatever. I share it because there's so much to us. There's so much to each one of us. When we're all so different, the more I share, if one little part of that can reach you, to give you confidence, to give you self-empowerment, to give you feeling of, yeah, I'm worth more, I'm gonna work for whatever that is, that's why I share. That's why I share. Because 2 years ago I was in the worst place ever, mentally and physically. And here I am, turning 42 today, in the absolute best place of my life. And I know that not every day is perfect. We all are always going to have stuff. We're all going to always have stuff. Always. Always. You're never not going to have stuff. It's how you deal with it and how you move on. Okay? So, just wanted to pop in and say that when it was fresh in my head, because I know I get crazy and happy and all this stuff on the live, and it was amazing, and it's amazing. But I want to, because I was touched that way by her messaging me right when I got off. I just really wanted to share a little bit of my raw emotion of why I share. And it's messages like that. It's messages that I get from people that I know and that people I've never met, that tell me how something they've seen, something I've said, something I've posted helped them through the day, help them through a situation, help them feel good about something in their life. If that's how I can give back, that's how I'm doing it. If that's how I can reach someone else to say, yeah, you can do this too, and they do it, it is whatever it is that they want, but, for me, it is feeling the most fabulous that you can feel. That's why I share. That is why I share. And I know a lot of times I talk about nothing on my lives, and I just ramble. Sometimes I talk about the same thing 3 weeks in a row, but that's who I am, and that's what I got to say. And I'm just trying to help you understand a little bit of where it's coming from and why that is and why I'm sharing, and that's why. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, messaging me, whatever it is that you do. Thank you. Because I love to give, but giving this, me mentally giving all this stuff out, is also helping me receive. And it's good for me. And when I know that there's one person, if there's 1 in 1,000 that finds value in it that day, then I feel good about it, you know? If me sharing can help you feel better, that's why I share. So, thank you.